The meeting of the the meeting of the Administration and Budget Committee is called to order at 5:35. Could you please call the roll?
Director Alexander,
Here.
Director Gill.
Here.
Director Chapman is not present.
At this time, any members of the public will have an opportunity to address the board on any item not on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes.
We have one speaker. Mr. Muirhead, are you here for public
I checked
comments?
the box,
For
agenda item, yes.
there are none.
Okay. Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 10th, 2023.
Not electronically, okay, so I move to move this. I already moved to adopt this.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking at my screen. I was just looking at you. Okay, I have a motion and I will make the second. Does anyone have any questions? Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? Would we please call the vote?
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. The next item is committee business. Members of the public will have the opportunity to comment on any matter on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. The first item is an informational item, presentation and discussion of information technology audit report.
Good evening, directors. Justine Ateen, Fiscal Services Officer. Tonight, staff will be providing the committee with an update on the IT program. In particular, any progress made on the projects outlined in the Technology Master Plan that will be presented to the board back in 2021, as well as a brief summary of our recent IT audit that was conducted by an external vendor. Here with me tonight is our IT technician, Vincent Tran, who joined us full-time back in October 2022. So he's coming up on his first anniversary soon. And since he's joined, we made a lot of improvements to our network security, backup processes, training and documentation, and hardware upgrades. And so the IT program's responsibility are managed by our full-time IT tech, Vincent, and a lot of the policy and strategy is overseen by yours truly. Between the two of us, and really mostly him, there has been a lot of proactive maintenance on our network, systems, hardware, software, you name it. We're also responsible for developing and maintaining IT policies and processes, providing staff with training and support, and implementing industry best practices. And so kind of diving in a little bit more detail of the IT program, I'm going to turn it over to Vincent. He'll go over some programmatic areas of the IT program to see get a sense so that the committee can get a sense of what it is that we do here at the authority. Thank you.
Hello, board members. My name is Vincent. I'm the IT technician for the Open Space Authority. So I just want to give you a little bit rundown of the 4 areas that my program area covers. So first off, we have network security. So a part of the responsibilities is providing network maintenance. So for the firewall and monitoring the health of the organization's firewall, making sure that automatic backups of the firewall are done daily, and those firewall backups are pushed to the cloud. It's also monitoring what kind of data is being traversed through our internal network from the outside, and looking at the internal networks and monitoring bandwidth usage, seeing the lows and the peaks, and the Wi-Fi health and connectivity. The next area is the policies and training. So recently, IT did a email scam training with all staff. So that's basically training them on how to spot scam emails, malicious file attachments, so that they don't accidentally click on that and bring in an external threat within our internal network. And more so is updating security policies. For example, we did a policy update for access to the server room, so only vetted internal employees are allowed access to it. The next program area is the end user support. So we are a hybrid environment. So some employees are work from home, some are on site, and IT's responsibility is providing support, on site and remote support. In these remote support, there are some satellite offices that we have. So for example, at the beginning of the year, we used to have an office in Alum Rock Park. That is no longer anymore, but during my time here, I did provide computer support to our staff who were staffed out there at Alum Rock. And more so, we have Tilton Farm, which some of our staff do use as a pseudo office, but we also, IT provides support there also. Okay. Next area is system administration. So along that is server maintenance, making sure the servers are kept up and running 24/7. So our file server, our domain controller are on that. That needs to be up 24/7. Administrating computer and email accounts to our employees, onboarding, offboard process, employee data retention, and administration of the file storage environment for our work file. So that would include on-premise file storage and in the cloud, and automating the 3-2-1 backup for our work file. So 3-2-1 meaning that our files are located in the cloud, one on site and another off storage. Yeah.
What is the off storage?
A secondary storage. So it is,
It's in our server room.
it's in our server.
Basically, instead of just the data on the server, it's also in a NAS.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What kind of firewall you are using?
Sonic wall.
Yes, but
Is it built in or is it separate? With the server or?
Oh,
it's separate from the
device.
server, yes.
Okay, so I'll turn it back to me, Justina, again. Just to kind of bring a trip down memory lane. Back in 2021, IT staff published a master plan and presented the document to the board for feedback and review. The plan was created in response to the new technological environment that was kind of created from the COVID-19 pandemic. What it is with the introduction of remote work, IT staff had to pivot and basically immediately change the way we managed our technology. For example, since 2020, we've had to expand VPN access to all staff. Prior to that, we only had 5 basic licenses. And so you can imagine that expansion meant more support for to staff for VPN. We also had to deploy video conferencing and messaging via Microsoft Teams. We had to adopt an electronic signature policy instead of getting wet signatures from management team or board. We've also had to deploy a voice over IP solution because we actually used to have an on-premise PBX system, which basically was obsolete by the time you actually get out of the office. And so again, it's these adaptations that we've had to do due to the pandemic. But the influx of these new systems, these new processes, it strained IT staff. So we felt the need to kind of document the existing environment, evaluate what we had, what we needed for the next 5 years, to kind of continue to prepare and deliver a scalable, stable, technological environment and support to staff to at least work in a remote or at least a hybrid environment. And so that was kind of what was born out of that, kind of like anxiety. Let's write it down. Let's see what we can do. And the goal of the plan, they were to fulfill 3 main goals. And we had proposed several projects that would align to delivering those goals. One of the purpose would be reliability. We wanted to continue to be able to provide high quality IT products and services to staff in a hybrid environment. So basically, some of the projects included being able to upgrade and scale network infrastructure as necessary over time, so that we had the tools to monitor and administer. We also had intended to pilot some collaboration tools so that people can work not just being in the same place, but online using cloud services, as well as then now with staff in more locations, improving awareness and understanding of cybersecurity and how it might affect staff and the authority. The second goal was innovation, exploring and investing in different products, different processes that basically help us work effectively in different environments. Primarily, we were seeing, again, the strain on IT staff, figuring out what tools would benefit and help make us work effectively, such as implementing a help desk solution. Because prior to that, IT staff was just getting tickets through email. Hey, got a problem, email staff. So there was no tracking, if, for example, if the IT technician was out, it was more of like, I couldn't quite step in because I didn't know where we were in the process. So again, it was finding the tools that would help the team work better to support staff.
But you are in the process right now to finding the tool, or you are?
We're still in the process of finding a tool.
Another question, when someone is working from home, so when they are just connected to the internal server,
Mhm.
so what kind of authentication you guys are using? Any kind of other than just their normal authentication? Any secondary, like when you guys have the home. So when we just check email or other stuff, then we have to call or something.
Oh, the 2-factor, are you referring?
The second, so do you have anything like that?
We have the tools, and we'll touch a little bit on that as part of the IT audit recommendations. There are some actions that we intend to deploy to further strengthen the security of that. And also same thing with everyone kind of working in different environments, hybrid, kind of designing and document some IT norms, especially as the agency grows, so that everyone's on the same page on how to handle data and files. And then the last goal would be security, obviously to kind of safeguard and make sure that we maintain not just the hardware, the software, but the data as well. Planning for business continuity. So having a disaster recovery plan written down. That was one of the projects that were proposed. And then again, kind of in hindsight, 2 years back, we talked about automation tools, and now it feels a little outdated with our AI and everything like that. But again, we were looking at how we can test tools to help enhance security as well as workflows as well. And then obviously continuing to research and implement best practices, because those get old quickly and always trying to kind of keep up. So kind of maintaining that momentum as part of the goal. And so since the plan was presented to the board in 2021, we've made some progress on some of the projects, and more are planned into the next fiscal year. And with Vincent having joined us in the past year, we've already made some improvements to our systems. We also, besides just doing it internally, we also felt it was an opportune time to have an external IT auditor kind of come in and take a look. We've had a personnel switch. And then we've also experienced a gap with one of our backup processes. And we're about halfway into our plan timeline-wise and wanted to reevaluate whether our previous assessment still aligns with our current needs. And so what we ended up doing is contracting with a IT auditor, but I'll do a little musical chair again. I'll turn it back over to Vincent. He'll go over the scope of the work that the external IT auditor did, as well as kind of the subsequent results that we received, some recommendations. And then we'll kind of see if we could wrap it up. But just to kind of give a little bit more background on the project updates, kind of going along with those 3 goals, we have upgraded quite a bit of network equipment since then. Some, or to kind of keep up with, as they were phased out or reached end of life, we not only just replaced with an equal product, but at least more looking forward to the future. So instead of lead-based battery, uninterrupted power supply, so in case of a blackout, our servers are still up and running. We've actually upgraded to a more green product with lithium ion. We have also, prior to the master plan, we've only actually had 1 firewall, which means a single point of failure if the firewall goes down. So we have now procured a secondary one, so there'll be a high availability. We've also upgraded our management console PC to our server class. Yes.
Are you using any failover system or not?
For the firewall?
No. So whenever your any server is down or somewhere, so for continuously you are running that, there is a one program or the software is called a failover. So failover means a switch to the other server automatically. Then the user even don't recognize that then the server is down or not.
Not at the server level at the current moment. So right now it's only at the firewall level. So only for internet connectivity. Now we do make backups. So it's more of having to basically
Okay, so
recover.
question is that if, for example, your server is down or and for any reason, so then how the user is just need to work.
So right now, mainly our file server is mostly acting more like an archive. We use more of OneDrive and Office 365 SharePoint as our collaboration tool. As a result, again, a response to working hybrid. So with those in the cloud, staff is still able to continue working.
That's mean. So whenever your in-house server is down, then you have to go to the cloud. Is a switch automatically? Or
No, it does not switch automatically.
so you
It's
guys
two
have to
different.
be just route that one, point to the that server, like the cloud server. That's
No.
what you're saying?
Every individual has their own OneDrive cloud storage. So it would be where they would have their own access to it. There are plans for eventual, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're actually test trialing. One of the projects that's actually on this year's work plan is the GIS server migration. That's headed by our planning department. They're moving the GIS server on to the cloud. So if, quite frankly, if that goes successful, that's something IT would consider where there's redundancy on the cloud for a file server rather than keeping on premise. But that is yet, we haven't evaluated yet.
We just, this last week, just migrated all of our backups and files on the cloud at City Hall.
Yeah, so
You
it's,
can imagine how many files we have.
yeah, so it's the next, it seems like the next scalable next step, right? Everything's kind of moving, but we have to kind of see there's costs involved. We just have to see in terms of administration as well. We have not done any evaluation for that yet. So at this time, at the server level, no, we do not have a failover solution.
I have a question about security, and I think we addressed this back in 2021. We are also prepared to do one big cyber security training now. In fact, we have the clerk's office that you haven't done your training, you need to sign up, a little log on this. And I've noticed the trainings are, they've expanded, so my time there, so is that something you're gonna implement to the staff at the board as well, because I think, us also having good practices on
Mm.
reading emails, because I've seen some weird stuff coming through,
Yep.
I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna delete this.
Yes, we could definitely expand. Right now, the training is mostly kept internal. There are vendors out there that we're aware of that would just kind of just pretend to be a malicious actor and send out emails to test staff.
We had that too.
We
Yeah.
have not.
And I got caught on that.
So we'll send training your way. But yeah, so it's being done internally at the moment. It's something to look into for actually procuring an external vendor to do something like that would be next step. But as I kind of mentioned, kind of almost like a sneak peek into the future, an anticipated potential work plan pending approval would be implementing a help desk and knowledge-based solution. Again, this is to make progress on that master plan. And then the innovation part, again, besides the on-premise server, we would like to look at cloud services like SharePoint to kind of basically move files online, document file management protocols for records retention associated with, what to keep, what not to keep. But unfortunately, due to staff capacity, I will be out starting Monday. We're delaying the project. It's planning to be restarted in spring of 2024. And then again, the security goal, another sneak peek into the future. We want to deploy an enterprise password manager to help kind of help staff with making complex, unique, passwords to help keep things secure. So then I'll kind of pause there and send it to Vincent. Yes.
How often you guys set up the backup system?
I can have Vincent answer that one in detail. And then he can dive straight into his part of what the external IT auditor did for a scope of work. Does that work?
Yeah. So the backups are done daily, every day. So
All backup or just update?
they're incremental and full backups. So it lasts about 3 months. So we can pull from 3 months worth of files and server backup to restore it. I will move on to the next slide. So this is the IT audit scope of work. Actually. Okay. So we enlisted an IT auditor, a Microsoft official gold standard partner to IT audit our company, and it was a 1 to 2 month long penetration test. So first, for the policies and processes, they took a look at our IT processes and procedures, basically how we operate. So they looked at how well are we documenting our procedures, are we following protocols, are we doing best industry standard practices. The next area they looked at was the internal network vulnerability assessment. So they're looking at if someone got into our internal network, how much access and threat a potential bad actor can do once they're inside after breaking through our external safeguards. And the third area is the external penetration testing. So this is broken up into 2 parts. The first part is seeing if they can break into our internal network externally from the wide area network, so WAN. I'm glad to say that the external penetration tests we passed with flying colors. They were not able to penetrate through our firewall or penetrate through our external safeguards. The second external pen test was on our public website, so the openspaceauthority.org website. They did bring to light some improvements that we can make. So we're passing that on to our web developers, which we outsource to. Is there any questions about these topics? The next slide, I will go over the results of the penetration test, but. Okay. So. So these are the results and improvement areas that we can, that we have action plans to take on. So for the first area, the access controls and restrictions. So like I said before, if someone got inside our internal networks, what level of access can they get? What internal systems can they access, and what kind of obstacles are in their way to defend against that? We do have policies that can be better strengthened to guard against this, so that is why it got that rating. So think of an analogy like you have a castle, right? Your walls can be the best, right? You could have like really great walls, but if someone were able to sneak inside your castle, what level of protections and obstacles are there to prevent them from traversing through the internal network? Like, so an analogy would be like, are the town guards inside the castle within this, the city castle? Are they patrolling everywhere? Are they patrolling where they need to be? So that's sort of my analogy. The next area is the password policy. So we did get an adequate rating on that. We can better strengthen our password policy, such as enforcing longer passwords and longer lockout durations. So when someone try to brute force a password, there would be a longer lockout duration. The next area is this. Okay.
For the password, do you have any procedure to be change the password every week or any kind of things?
There is a number, but I cannot disclose that number out, but.
No, I'm just saying, do we have that system? I don't.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. There's an expiration date for the password, so it forces employees to change their password on their next login.
Thanks.
The next area is the systems monitoring and integrity. So we have a strong rating for that. Our IT auditor just asked us to continue doing what we're doing. We could centralize the monitoring. Currently, the monitoring systems are all separate, but that's just the nature of the software. And the next area is the wireless assessment. So we also got a strong rating in that. They advise us to keep doing what we're doing, continuing doing firmware updates for the access points, updating our Wi-Fi controller. But yeah. Do we have any questions about any of these items that we covered over?
Just gonna say, I got the password reminder to update my password, so I know first.
Awesome. Okay, then if no further questions, I'll pass it back to Justine. Oh, or, okay,
That actually,
Yeah.
that actually concludes our presentation, and then we could, address any questions you might have. But committee can know that IT team is working on some improvements to strengthen or change that weak rating. We're working towards that. There's been several steps are outlined, as well as a timeline that was set out for IT technician to address.
Working on this.
Yes,
More fun.
yes, we are.
Thank you.
thank you.
And so you would like to make public comment, come on up.
I would. Thank you, Chair. For the record, my name is Doug Muirhead. I live in Morgan Hill. Staff talked about a master plan in 2021. It was called a strategic plan, and it included a 5-year look ahead section. And my concern with that section, and you heard some of it today, is to me, it was a laundry list. It was not timelines and milestones and deliverables and priorities and level of effort. And so it's nice to know you're making some progress, but I don't know where you stand in your overall level of your effort going forward. And we just learned that one project is going to have to be deferred for a while. And I think all of that ought to be visible so that you can decide whether maybe we need to change some priorities or you need more resources. Now, I was a system and network administrator for a decade in the 1990s. And I'm very concerned about institutional knowledge capture as well as project management techniques applied to these sorts of things. I found that almost all of the people I worked with would rather do something for a user than document what we had and why we set it up that way. And there's no more way to be more disappointed on the first day of your job is to walk into a server room and not know what's there and why it's there and what needs to be changed. And I'm not sure with your one-person department or a person and a half, however you want to count yourselves, you're not at some risk for having a knowledge gap should something happen to your staff. Or you want to bring some new people in and you don't have any way to make them go. There are a couple of things I noted in my comments to this group a year and a half ago on the strategic plan that I'll repeat now just for fun. One is, I don't know where you stand with your web server files being ADA document accessible, compatible as required by the state. Morgan Hill solved that problem by declaring that they needed disk space and just deleted a lot of files. Caltrans has taken the approach of pulling things off the website saying, we'll make them available sometime later. So that's one interest. The other thing is, it's not clear to me that you have real offsite storage and equipment that you can continue to run. Maybe the cloud solves a lot of your problems. I have never heard you talk about, have you run a disaster recovery drill to see all these things that you have that you think would work, that people actually know how to work and there are no missing pieces. So this is an area that really interests me. I'm glad you're doing so much in it. I find the lack of detail somewhat troubling, but I'm a very process-oriented person, as certain people in this room know. So maybe it's not as important to you or as significant as I think it is, but I would like to see more project management techniques. And I definitely would like to know that you're very aggressively doing institutional knowledge capture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Just an information item. Adjourn.